Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to A.C.E. Nation, a very special show for you this evening, and I am very excited to be having a chat with my guest today. He's former Crystal Palace, former Chelsea, and of course, former Wales international, over 70 caps for the Great Wales. How are you? It's Mr. Peter Nicholas. How are you, my friend?
Good, yeah, good, thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me onto this cast today, which I'm looking forward to. Yeah, good, everything's okay. As I say, 64 now, so knocking on a bit.
Yeah, well, you look fitter than me, let's say that. But no, look, you had an incredible career, and I think the first thing you said to me as you arrived here today is, like, where we're filming today is where you signed Crystal Palace, which is such a full circle kind of thing.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
It's interesting, it was, I was only 14 and Palace's first team at that stage were playing Cardiff City at Ninian Park on the Tuesday night, and we were invited down on the Tuesday afternoon by Malcolm Allison to come meet the players and have lunch or a pre-match meal with the players, which we did. And then that evening, we before they left to go down and play the game, myself and Ian Walsh signed the forms to join Crystal Palace.
See, do you know, just on that quickly, like, over the years, you know, going back to when you were playing all the way through to the present day, it does feel like sometimes Cardiff miss out on, like, some local players. They end up going, you know, like, you've got Gareth Bale's the obvious example, went to Southampton's academy, you know, yourself signing for Palace at 14, you know, there's numerous others over the years. Why do you think that happens, that those local players aren't going to the local, sort of, one of the local clubs?
Well, first of all, I think that, you know, the English League is the league that you all want to play in as a kid, you know, that you all want to play for Manchester Uniteds and your Arsenals and Liverpools and Chelseas and that when you're a young lad. Most of the people you speak to these days, you know, you speak to their mums and dads, or especially the dads, they all support Manchester United or whatever, and, you know, but things have changed a little bit. There are now a lot of Cardiff City supporters at Swansea City, and now Wrexham has come on, and obviously I'm a Newport boy, and there's Newport County. So, but no, I think I've never ever played for a Welsh team at club level. I just played at, I went to Crystal Palace when I was 15 to live up there and join them, and as I say, I never played, the only time I played for Wales is when I played for Wales itself.
Yeah. Did you play like Welsh schools or Cardiff schools or like?
Yeah, I played with Newport schools, and then we used to play Swansea schools regular, the Cardiff schools, and we had to play the boys up in the valleys and that, you know, different. Then I played for Gwent against South Glamorgan and West Glamorgan and whatever, and so it was kind of a, you know, they were like good days, and then you get to know the boys who you meet up with later on, especially when you met up in Wales. I played with Welsh schoolboys, which was a great experience. My manager then was Chris Whitley, who was picked, but I actually come from Duffy. I come from Newport, which is like I was in a school which is a rugby school, really, more than football. So we never really had football teams in the school, it was rugby. But lucky enough, I was playing at weekends, you know, for the Sunday football and whatever. The Newport schools had a team and I was picked. But normally at my side of Newport, it was more rugby. And the school I went to was like a gay school in Dufferin, and it was more rugby. And so I was very unusual for people to get picked to play for Newport schools. But then we would play Cardiff, and then we played the English Shield, then you played against Swindon and teams like that, you know, schools. Yeah, but I played Wales. I played all the way through with Wales 15s, 16s, 17s, 18s, 21s, and obviously 23s at that stage then it was, and then obviously the full team.
In terms of moving away from home, you moved away was that the first time you'd been away from home for a longer period of time?
Well, what it was, Malcolm Allison came up with this idea that they wanted to sign, they thought, the best players that Crystal Palace could get from all over the country. And what they did, they took us away from school at 15 and put us in a school in London until we were 16, so we could leave then. So basically it was a 1 year extra kind of apprenticeship scheme. that we signed for. So me and Walshy, a lad called Stephen Lovell came up with us as well. So we went up to at Palace then at 15. I've never been away from home then at all. I went into digs in Brixton, which is very, very kind of, I must say, a rough area at one stage.
Yeah.
But I lived with, basically living with people who were like your mum and dad, basically, and they, great people who looked after us. The club looked after us very well. And then we went to school, and then we basically trained for 4 or 5 nights a week.
Nice. Yeah, it's. I always wonder because my youngest now is 15. The other two have kind of gone off and done their own thing now.
Yeah.
Like the youngest one's 15, and he's got a couple of trials this summer now, and like he mentioned the other day because his older brother's gone. He's living in Harrogate at the moment with the army, and the older one's in America, and he sort of said, oh, well, maybe I'll end up living in Bristol and playing football. And that, in my head, I was like, oh, you're the small one, like you can't go. But I mean, it happens to them.
Well, I was the youngest of 4 brothers. I had 3 brothers as well, so I was into 4 in the household. One of my brothers won bad football, the other 2 were very good. But basically it was it's the same. You go through life in football, and you meet. When you play for these clubs, I was at Crystal Palace, and we had a great youth side. I mean, we went to the Youth Cup, which is equivalent to the FA Cup, which everybody knows about. And we went to the Youth Cup and won that 2 years on the spin. And then to the team itself, there was 11 played in Palace's first team, and 9 become full international footballers. So it was an exceptional team that we were in. But then we had exceptional coaches. And the facilities we had that was another thing about me leaving Wales at that time, was the facilities of the English clubs had compared to the facilities we had in Wales at that stage.
Yeah, I mean, even at, like your Cardiffs and Swanseas, the facilities that they had then for training and shit and things like that, is particularly for the younger kids. But even in the first team, compare that to what you would get in London.
I mean, at Palace was taking us to Holland every summer and playing against like Real Madrid and Ajax and all these other junior teams. And we were coming away, we were learning so much about the game itself and their facilities, and they were taking us, and we were having, we had Johan Cruyff come and coach us one afternoon. I had Bobby Moore come over and coach us one afternoon. These are people who stood up and you think, Christ almighty, these are like fantastic footballers. Bobby Moore came over and coached us for a week, and like he's the captain of England and won the World Cup, and you think, Christ almighty, this is crazy.
Can't learn off Johan Cruyff and Bobby Moore.
No, that's right, and this is what Malcolm Allison is the manager. Then my coach was Terry Venables, and then we had another coach called John Cartwright who took us to the youth team. They were exceptionally people who played the game so well at such a good standard, and it was just such a good learning curve. And these are the things that Wales couldn't give us that, Cardiff or Swanseas, they just couldn't give us that. And again, to be honest, I was not really I wasn't approached. I must tell you the story that I was playing with Newport Schools one morning over in Newport, played a game, came back to the house in the afternoon. That morning my mum and dad went off to a wedding. They came back, and as they came back there was 4 gentlemen in my front room. I was making cups of tea for them, and one was Crystal Palace scout, one was Arsenal scout, one was Man City scout, and one was a Chelsea scout. And my dad came in, and my dad had a couple of beers at the stage, and he said, "Who are you lot?" He said, "Oh, so." He said, "What do you want?" He said, "Well, we're here to have a chat about your boy." He said, "Ah, you don't speak my boy today. I'd be at a wedding." And he slung them all out the house. And I tried my eyes and I'm thinking, "Dad, what are you doing?" But that's how I was.
Then?
I was only about 13 at this age.
Like at that age, you feel like every trial, every conversation you have with a scout or whatever, you feel like if it don't happen then, it's never going to happen, sort of thing.
But the thing about Crystal Palace was, and Malcolm Allison, was that he would spend time talking to us all individually, talking to us as a group of players about the ins and outs of off the field what would happen, on the field what would happen. So we would know before it even happened, the experience of learning. I'll tell you a story basically. Every you teach a kid, if you haven't done it, of going to an hotel on a Friday night, you've got a game on Saturday, say you're playing Manchester United away. You've got a game you meet up on the train in the morning on Friday, get on a bus up to Liverpool or Manchester, wherever we're playing, to stay at the hotel, get up next morning, which is Saturday, have your breakfast, walk with the players around the hotel or whatever they wanted to do. Sometimes we would train, sometimes we just get changed and do free kicks and corners or whatever, different every other week. And then the thing about it is that when you go on that bus at say 12 o'clock, 12:30, you go to Manchester United, you're on the bus, you're going through, Old Trafford and all the roads, you've got all the supporters on the side, all shouting at you to who you are and all that, which is normal. But it's all a learning process. I'm only 17 and I'm learning this. And all of a sudden you get off the bus, you've got to walk quite a way to get into the dressing room of Manchester United. Then all of a sudden you walk down the tunnel, you go up the steps onto the Old Trafford pitch and you think, Christ almighty, look at this place.
Yeah.
And I'm 17.
So having people like Malcolm Addison or Terry Venables, these types of people around you, that's how you prepare young players for those moments.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is where I just I'm missing my own thoughts about football these days, where if people haven't done that, and these kids are being coached by people who don't know it themselves. So you're not preparing these kids properly for what to expect. And then the downside of it would be, after training, you'd be at Palace, at whatever clubs, like most clubs are the same, you'd be given certain professional football, you have to clean their boots. And whatever. Now I had George Graham, when she, George Graham, Scottish international, played for Arsenal in the doubles winning team at Arsenal, and then also cleaned his boots at Palace. And he used to speak to me, George, about this and that and whatever. And he'd chuck him every day. I clean his boots, he'd chuck it back at me, not clean enough. Yeah. Not clean enough. And I'm thinking so all of a sudden I got into the first team, and then after a while, when you get to 18, you're not an apprentice then, or you've signed your pro contract, so you don't do them jobs. Don't forget, you'll be painting stands and painting dressing rooms and things like that. But anyway, but that's part and parcel of it, learning an apprenticeship, I think.
Yes, growing up as well as a boy, from a boy to a man as well, isn't it?
Well, it's like every job. It's like any job. If you end up going in any trade, you end up making tea. When you start first day, you make the tea for the big boys.
Yeah.
And you don't mind doing that. It's part of learning. So anyway, so I said to George one day, we're in the bar, because in them days you used to have big baths after games. I said to him, I said, George, please tell me, why did you let me clean your boots every day, 2-3 times, and chuck it back at me? He said, you know why, didn't you? He said, no. He said, the manager told me to keep your feet on the ground.
That's interesting. But I suppose it does that, doesn't it?
It is, but he's helping you, he would talk to you every day about, I would ask him questions about this position, that position, what training you do, and then all of a sudden I'm 18, and he's playing for a club like Arsenal, which is one of the biggest clubs, there's no getting away from it, in Great Britain, at least at this moment in time, maybe in the world at this moment in time as well. But all of a sudden then, I get transferred to Arsenal. A year later, which is another story which we can bring up later on. But as I say, these are the things that Wales couldn't give us as kids. And and that's no disrespect to any of the clubs in Wales, because I've got a lot of time for the clubs in Wales, I have, but
it's just the way things were.
It's just the way they were them days, and he wanted to play in the best league in the world, and the first division in them days was the best league.
Place to be. Well, with George Graham, I'm interested, what was he like as a player? Because obviously as a manager, he was quite frosty. I'm more familiar with him as a manager because he was, the Arsenal manager when I started watching football and whatnot. What was he like? Because he was very frosty as a manager, but I just wonder what he was like as a player, particularly like you said.
George, again, his principles would be discipline. George would be there in training most mornings at 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10:30 they start training. He'd be there for 9:45, 9 o'clock every morning. He'd do the same routine every day. He'd go off of work before he went training, do the weights or whatever he wanted to do or needed to do. His discipline was excellent, and that's one thing which I think you find him as a manager. I think perhaps people find him fairly frosty and all that because of his disciplines of doing the same thing against, keep the same standards. And that's one thing you've got to have when you play for clubs like Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle, all these big clubs. And, even any club you play for, basically, is you've got to set self-standards and stick to them.
Yeah, definitely. So did you take that sort of discipline and that way of, training and being early and the extra work, did you take that with you then from being a 17, 18-year-old into the rest of your career?
Well, there's one thing you've got to learn as well when you're a pro footballer, the consistency of the standards of play. And as you know, if you don't keep the standard of play up, then there's people behind you who are looking for your job, and there's no getting away from that. That's football. That's how football is. And so the one thing I always kept myself fit, always kept myself looking. You have injuries, you know that. You worry about. I had certain knee injuries. I broke my right leg about 4 times, my left leg about twice, I think, and you snap my Achilles tendon once, and then you like knee no cartilages for like 10 years, 8 years not playing, so I had bone against bone, and now I've got 2 metal knees because of that. I mean, these are the things, but when you want to play football at the high standard, you're so determined to stick to it, and you've got to discipline yourself. Hey, listen, there's nothing worse. Hey, there's nothing worse. I'd like a night out with the boys having a few beers, but it's got to be done at the right times.
Yeah.
You're so good, you're thinking you can go out every night of the week or do things that you shouldn't be doing, all of a sudden go and play a game on Saturdays, you just don't work.
No.
And there was one thing, and to be fair, the players I played with, the clubs I was playing with, they were exactly the same. All the players were the same. And it is a routine, and a lot of people maybe think it's boring. It's not boring, I'm sure of that, because it's just a kick you get off. When you run out, you got 30,000 or 40,000 people shout your name, and they call you bad names sometimes. But then after you're winning, you can imagine they calling me sheep so and so and whatever. But I couldn't care as long as you won the game.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I love it. I do like football's changed a lot over the years, obviously. But like that sort of 80s, 90s football for me was like that was my childhood. About the 80s and then. Like 90s, I was a bit older.
I mean, the thing about it was as well, when we were playing, the things that we were told to do, and people thought, this is not right, this don't seem... I mean, we would play games, we used to play on a Saturday morning at pro level, in the 60s counties then, which is equivalent now to the academy teams, playing as academy teams. And like in the mornings, our coach John Cartwright would say to us, right, today we're going to play keep ball. And we go, oh, right, okay. So he would say, now when we get up to the opponent's half, we're not looking to score goals. We just want to keep the ball around the box and passing the ball around and going backwards and going sideways and forwards and players making runs. And he would say to us, this is the situation, we play and keep ball today. Yeah. And we think, boss, hold on, man, we want to win the game. He said, you win the game, didn't you? And we go win the game 4-5-0 or 2-0 or whatever. And it was all about keeping the ball, and basically that was for later in life when you start playing at pro level. And one thing you do is international level, you've got to keep the ball. Your team has got to keep the ball. And you look at teams now who keep giving the ball away. If they keep giving the ball away, they lose games. And there was one thing we did learn. It was all the time keep ball in training, and it was great in the end. And you look at the good sides, look at Man City there, you look at Liverpool, they keep the ball now, and you think, Christ almighty, it's fantastic to watch, and it was exciting.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. With Crystal Palace, they were obviously your education in football, weren't they? But also, like I said earlier, like going from a boy to a man, becoming an academy player to a youth player to a first team player. How did you feel when you left Crystal Palace? Like, was it like a difficult one, or was it time?
It's a strange situation. I was just coming to 19 years of age, and the club was going through, the chairman had sold the club to a new chairman called Ron Notes. I don't know if you heard of him.
Yeah.
You know, he came into the club. He was ex-Wimbledon chairman. He came in and Teddy Venables left, John Cartwright left, Malcolm had gone quite a while before that.
So a lot of people you were close to.
He brought, people who we were very close to as a manager, as a friend as well. We were good friends. But then he brought a manager called Daniel Grady, which didn't really know much about. I knew he was ex-Chelsea coach and he was a Wimbledon, and so he brought him into Palace. So one day, we had a team meeting, like a little private team meeting the last time, and we said, well, you know, what's going on? He said, as far as we're concerned, we just see him contracts in and we'll make a move because we don't seem to be liked at the club no more. And we weren't spoiled, I'll show you. You know, what we did, we were learning the game. It's all about learning the game, basically. And we were different. We were brought up different, A.C.E football different. And this may be the fact of why I had such a good career, because you look at it differently. Anyway, so Daniel Grady came in, he basically had a team meeting, all the players, he said, right, the situation is, if you want to go, come and see me. If you don't want to go, let's just get on with it. Let's just get on with training. So it is me going on, I went home, had a chat with my wife then at that time, I'm divorced now, whatever. And it was a situation where I had a man who looked after me, who was like a finance advisor, who was with Bobby Robson as well. Bobby Robson's financial advisor, so he's quite good, you can imagine. So he said, well, let's just go in, have a chat with the manager, see what he says. If you're quite happy with it, stay. If not, then we'll see what we can, see what happens. So anyway, so I go and see the manager, and he says to me, yeah, you're okay, this, that, whatever, but you're Welsh, I said, okay, there's a few Welsh boys here. Yeah, but you're Welsh and you play at the national level now and you're going to be away, you're not going to be here so much. I said, well, do you want me to go or not? I said, because I'm not sure yet. He said, well, let's see what happens. Anyway, so it comes to the Thursday transfer deadline day. Which you have once a year, and everybody knows in football. So go training in the morning, go home. There's me thinking, I'm at home about 2 o'clock, I'll pick the kids up from school at 3 o'clock, normal day in, take the kids out at the park or do something with them after school. They do their homework, then bed and early night, training next day. All of a sudden I get home, 2 o'clock, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Palace come from. Ron knows. I said, hello Mr. Chairman, how are you? He said, yeah, good. He said, I've just agreed a fee with Arsenal, and there's a car on its way to pick you up. You're going over to Arsenal to sign. I said, oh, am I? He said, yes, you are. He said, if you don't go, the club folds tomorrow. There's not a lot of people know this story.
Pressure, that, isn't it?
I've never ever, I'm 19, there's no football agents. No. I've just got my man who's a financial advisor to me, and who was very good, and has helped me out later in life, and did very well for me, that's what he's there for. And then, all of a sudden so his car comes, it's the chief scout of Paris, Derek Healy his name was. He said, Peter, sorry to say mate, but he wants you to go to Arsenal because the club needs the money. And if you don't go, the club's got problems. So okay, so I go over to Arsenal that afternoon. Now don't forget, I'm in South London where I lived. I'd got to be in North London and signed by 6 o'clock that evening. So I rushed all the way over there. I sit there with Terry Neal, who was the manager of Arsenal at that time. He explains to me, I want you to sign, blah, blah, blah. This is what we're offering you. So they offered me a 3-year contract, good contract, whatever, shook hands. I signed for Arsenal on that day.
Fast moving.
And that's how it was. And then, so all of a sudden, that was a Thursday. I played for Arsenal on Saturday, don't play for Palace no more. A week later, we played in Palace.
No. Jesus.
At Arsenal, but it's still friends with a lot of players who now finished.
It must have been weird though, because it happened so quick. To then, like you say, like 1 minute you're playing for Palace, next minute you're playing for Arsenal, then you're playing against Palace. Yeah. All in a space of a week.
Well, it was just
a bit of a whirlwind.
Again, being a player with ambition, a player who's learning the game, who's going to turn down Arsenal?
No. Course, yeah.
And no disrespect to Crystal Palace, and we're not talking about today Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace was at that stage in the second division, not the first division. I'm going to a club who just, for the 3 years before that year, have been the FA Cup final 3 years on the spin. So it's a situation where you just don't say no, do you?
No, especially if you're ambitious as a player, that's the sort of opportunity which you have to take. And then you have to
take so again, so I went to Arsenal, and the sad thing with Palace is I've still got a lot of friends, my children who live in London, they're also Palestinian ticket holders. It's just the club. You never forget where you started from.
No, of course.
And like I say earlier, coming to this hotel today, brought back memories of when I signed for Palace as a kid.
Yeah. I was really pleased when you said that, just because I thought it was like a nice full circle moment. In terms of playing for Arsenal, obviously a massive club, but Highbury back then as it was. Who was like some of the players you played with at Arsenal, and what was your experience like?
Well, when you're 19, you just want to play football, and you want to play the best level you can. Now, that year, that summer in that year of the transfer deadline day, Arsenal signed Kenny Sansom from Palace for £1 million. He played for England. Kenny, we all know Kenny, good friend of mine. He was at Arsenal already, so at least I knew Kenny. But then I'm walking into the Highbury, in the Marble Hall, and you got people like Pat Jennings in goals, John Hollins right back, Kenny Sansom left back, David O'Leary, Willie Young, Brian Talbot, Alan Sunderland, Frank Stapleton. All these players who Christ almighty, these are like
larger and like characters, legends of the game.
And like you've got to realise, when I was 16, they were all playing in the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
So 3 years later, I'm playing with it. So that was exciting, very, very exciting. Great club. I mean, I always thought that Palace had standards, Arsenal have higher again. Really high, and they stick to it. I mean, the training ground, you'll have silver spoons and knives to eat your dinner with at Arsenal. At Palace we never had that, we had stainless steel. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's the kind of standard they set, you know? Everywhere we went abroad was first class, or every time we were travelling, we would have 3 chefs on a bus cooking us food as we're going. Or playing after the game, you put your order in, it'd be like prawn cocktail, and then whatever afterwards, after the game, you'd be there waiting for you. So the standards were good, and the standards of play was high as well. So you had to, but when you're playing with them players, you learn so much again. The only thing was, when I went to Arsenal at that stage, I didn't realise, I was a young kid and I just went there to play football, but it was going through a kind of a spell, Arsenal, where they had a lot of the team were being sold off because they were old, quite an old side. So people like Pat Rice and Sammy Nelson and Frank Stapleton and Liam Brady went that year. Frank Stapleton went to Manchester United, Brady went to Juventus. So they were big names, and to recover their names in one season, try and stick to where Arsenal were, was difficult. But I went there, I played on Saturday, we won the game. I actually scored a goal in Devon at Ipswich. We won 2-1, so that was good. Good little way to get into the game, team. But as you say, that season we only had about 8 or 9 games to play. We did lose a game. We got into Europe. I never played in Europe before club level, so we played 2 games. Played Juventus. Pals and I got us in the first game, and then Juventus, but then we lost to Juventus in the second game. But that was a great experience. But then I'm flying. We're going to Australia to play a friendly, and we're going to Japan, Hong Kong to play a friendly. So these are the things I've never had with Crystal Palace as a kid. It was learning going to Holland, but then all of a sudden I'm going to like these big countries, first class travel, first class hotels, and fantastic and great football. But the Arsenal was going through a bad period. Then I got a bad knee injury. I ripped all my knee ligaments, which got me out for 6 months. Got back in, but again, Arsenal's the type of club where you can't afford to be out of the team.
No,
once you're out, it's bloody hard to get back in.
Yeah, they got to make adaptations and they move on, and
of course,
someone steps up. There's always someone looking for your place, whether that's a young player or just someone else.
So I had 3 years there, which were good years, and then kind of Terry Deal said, "Oh well, do you want to go down loan because you're not playing? I'd rather go down loan and play in the reserves because they had a reserve league there, which I played in that, and I was sub or I was playing, but then I got a couple of other little injuries, and then I was going away with Wales and coming back, so everything was okay. I was captain of Wales at one stage and captain of Arsenal at one stage as well, which is great. You know, I don't think I could get any higher than that really at that stage of my career. So I'm about 22, 23 now. So Palace came back on in for me to go back on loan. So I went on loan at Palace for a while until the end of the season, and then Palace said, "Oh, we can't afford to keep you." I went back to Arsenal. Then I moved on then to Luton Town.
And you made a good few hundred appearances for Luton as well.
Yeah, had a good time at Luton. We had a good side, good team. It was a shame because that was a time when teams couldn't go to Europe because of the fan situation. So we would have qualified that 1 year for Luton. We had a good side, very good side.
Because I know, like Luton, like Kenilworth Road is one of my favourite grounds, away grounds. It's one of my favourite grounds I like to go to, and even like last year when Luton got promoted to the Premier League most recently, like I was really rooting for them, and it's very unusual for me to root for any team outside of Cardiff, and I really was rooting for Luton once it was clear Cardiff were not doing anything in that season. I really wanted Luton to go up more so than I think any other team, because I just like the football club, I like the fans, I like the way they...
Again, I totally understand that, I totally agree with you, because when I went there, they had a manager called David Pleat, who again was a manager you learned so much of.
Yeah.
I mean, and David Pleat was so good at recruitment. For a little club like Luton was, they were well punched above their weight when they were in the first division, and we ended up being third that 1 year in the first division, which is like crazy.
Different times, isn't it?
At them times, and it was like we had a good side. We had Mick Harford, Steve Foster's, we had Ricky Hill and Brian Steen, and we had players fitted in positions. We had Mel Donaghy, an Irish international player. Ashley Grimes playing left back, Republic of Ireland international player. So he picked good players, and they were all playing, and we played regular. Yeah, we had a good side, a very, very good side there. Yeah.
It's interesting, because I'm a firm believer in doing what I do. I'm lucky enough that I get to speak to a lot of people, a lot of ex-footballers, a lot of current footballers, but all sorts of musicians, bands, whatever it may be, journalists, bit of everything really. But it doesn't escape me how lucky I am to have that opportunity. But also, what I try to do is I try to take little bits from people and learn myself, and if it makes me a better person, or a better human being, a better father, a better husband, whatever it may be, that's what I try to do. Because if I've got this opportunity to speak to so many successful people, you'd be silly to not try and learn what made them successful and what makes them tick. You have obviously come up through Palace. You've had Mark Manson, you've had Terry Venables, George Graham. Then you've gone to Arsenal and you've had all these players. You mentioned Mal Donaghy there. What a player he was!
Yeah.
Unbelievable player. You've had these incredible players, and you're still quite young at that point, aren't you? What would you be in Luton?
I was 25.
Still relatively young, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Certainly 25 years.
No, as I say, then I was at Luton, and then David Pleat left to go to Tottenham. And again, as time went on, about 6 months later, David was at Tottenham. David then got in touch with me and Luton Town, and they agreed a deal. I was going to go to Tottenham. The next day, David got sacked. No. I didn't know anything about that, so at the end of the day, I didn't end up going to Tottenham. But
changes quick
like that. Then he left. Ray Harford came in, and God bless the Ray, who was now passed. He was a good manager. I didn't really get on with Ray particularly because he had different views of the game, and he kind of wanted to bring in one or two boys that he fancied from. He was ex-coach at Fulham and places like that. Fair enough, managers have their, they have their, reasons why they want their players or whatever. So he said, I got somebody interested, do you want to go? And I went to Aberdeen with Ian Porterfield.
Okay.
Which Fergie had left that season. Ian took over from Fergie.
Ian Porterfield
was again, you meeting somebody who you could learn from, and I learned a hell of a lot again. And I'm so blessed with players and managers I've worked with who I've learned so much from. And Ian was, we all know Ian from the goal he scored at the FA Cup final for Sunderland against Leeds. Go back, and that's going before, when I was a kid, I was watching Ian play. He was a great person.
How was your time in Scotland? Did you like it?
It was good. It was a good time to Scotland in a way of you had like in them days you had like the two Dundee clubs who were good teams.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was now, was it? Where it's just Celtic Rangers.
You had them two. You had Aberdeen. You had Rangers. You had Celtic, and then you had like Hearts and all them. We were all slowly becoming good. So it was a good league to play in the them days. Most probably Celtic were weren't in the top 3 or 4 teams in them days because Rangers spent all the money with probably having like Ray Wilkins go there, Graham Roberts, Graham Souness went there and things like that. So they built their reputation up of being Aberdeen. I went up there, I was playing with, Willie Miller, Alex McLeish, Jim Leighton in goals, who I played against for Wales, against Scotland. So these were the things that it was a good time to go to Scotland. I had a bit of an issue. My wife had a baby up in Scotland and my son was very ill and he got rushed from Aberdeen down to Great Ormond Street in London. He had a lot of stomach problems.
Okay.
And basically I couldn't cope with back and forward. I wasn't really given enough time to football. I wasn't given enough time. Don't forget I had 3 other kids as well. So I had a ferry all in back down to London so that the nan and granddad had them to look after and play football at Aberdeen. So Ian left Aberdeen as well, so he got a new manager in who was good as gold. He wanted me to stay and he said to me, let's go and see the chairman. So I went to see the chairman at Aberdeen, who was a fantastic man, a fantastic person. Quite an old chairman, but a fantastic person. To have a Fergie in there, he's got to be a good man.
Yeah.
So and went to see Mr. McDonald and he said, Peter, if you want to go, good luck to you. We won't stand in your way. So I went down on the Saturday evening. I flew down from Aberdeen Airport, landed at Gatwick, got home, seen my missus with a little baby. He's a little baby for 6 months, didn't come out of hospital. Once he was born, he didn't come out of hospital till after 6 months. He had a couple of certain operations and that. And then that Sunday morning, I got a phone call. It's Bobby Campbell from Chelsea. I've spoken to Ian, to the manager of, it wasn't Ian Paul, sorry, I was going to say the other manager, I can't think of his name at the moment, it will come to me. So he spoke to him, he said, you would like to have a chat. So I went and met Ian that afternoon in a hotel in down by Cobham, where Chelsea train now. I met him in there and we agreed terms and I signed for Chelsea.
That must have been like a bit of a relief for you with your son being ill to not have to do that commute and that track constantly.
It was a good move in a way. I mean, Chelsea was a big club, but at that stage they were run by Ken Bates. They had no money. They were on a downward spiral. They were in the second division, not the first division at that time. So I went there and I signed that week, as Graham Roberts signed that week as well. So we were 2 big signings for that club. And a year later, we got promotion in the first division, which was good again.
Incredible. I always enjoy hearing stories of not just success, but also of where, you've gone to the chairman of Aberdeen and you've kind of explained that, your situation with your son, with the traveling, with your other kids and stuff, it's a bit much, and you feel like you're almost caught in the middle. You're trying to give your all to football, your family, and everything. And I do enjoy hearing those stories because you do hear that, and unfortunately, the way the world is now, especially, but generally, you always hear the negative stories about the chairman or the manager tells you, just get on with it, or you put your football career first, or whatever it may be. Whereas, the Aberdeen chairman took into account everything which you would sort of said to him, and he's.
I think when I was in football,
treated you like a human being, mate. I think
he did very much so. And to be fair, when you look at the chairmen that I was playing under, they were kind of proper chairmen. I'm not saying that chairmen of these clubs are not proper chairmen, but when you had chairmen there, they had love for the club they owned.
Yeah. And they were there every day.
They'd be there every day. I mean, Aberdeen, you go back after training, there'd be lunch put on for you, and all of a sudden they'd sit alongside the table with you and just say, how's it going, boys? And talk normal life as a normal man. So the Arsenal chairman was exactly the same. Ron Knowles is a little bit different, but, you know, Ron Knowles is, you know, kind of didn't see him much when he wanted to see you. Obviously wanted you to do something for him or ask you a few questions about something, but again, after playing at Chelsea, and I went to Watford afterwards, I had Elton John as my chairman for a while.
It's got to be surreal. This has got to be.
And it's like, kind of, you wouldn't see him much because he'd be doing his job, singing and whatever. But he'd come down and he was a fantastic chairman, and he left, and another chairman took over, who ex-West Ham director, took over Watford. And it was great, but I knew that towards the end of that, I was at the end of my career coming then, because my right knee started playing up. It really was a problem to me.
You got to tell me about the first time you met Elton John.
First time I met Elton John.
It must have been strange.
It was a strange situation, because I've got to be careful what I say to you, because Elton, you know, for the stories the players were telling me, you couldn't get a better chairman. I mean, and the first time I met him was he had a party at his house in Windsor, and all the players, and Steve Perryman was the manager then, and he took us, and we went down. We got on the bus with the wives and the kids. It was kind of like a Sunday afternoon garden party before the season, and he had this every season, ball against, and maybe one at Christmas time for the kids and that, like, you know. But we went down to this house, massive big house in Windsor, and the grounds were fantastic. And I remember he had a big lake around the, like a fishing lake, going all the way around his house, like, you know. And you go into every room we went into, the house was different. Furniture was different, the carpets were different, all the wallpaper. And I'm thinking, Christ, we'd like get home and the missus want to spend some more money now, doing the house up, like, you know. But no, it was, there was a situation there which really was. But he was a nice gentleman. He knew his football.
Yeah, he's a massive walk, wasn't he?
Yeah, like, really and then he come to the dressing room before games and have a chat with us. How you feeling today? Oh, you get us 2 points. It was 2 points in them days. Can you get us 2 points? And then he went to 3. And then all of a sudden he decided to pull out of football, because I think he had enough of it, and the new chap took over. But I was there nearly just 2 years in Watford. Good club, Watford. Again, another community club where the club was so close with the fans and everybody at the club you knew and whatever, like, you know. So it was quite difficult for Ian Porterfield at Aberdeen, and it was quite difficult for Steve Perryman at Watford, because they took over from managers who had been there and successful as well. I mean, Fergie won Europe when he was there. Taylor went with Watford to the Wembley FA Cup and got promotion, and I had a very good side as well. So it was a situation there basically where I remember Ian saying to me, the secretary is Fergie's ex-secretary. She said to me, Sir Alex would have done it, or Alex would have done it this way. Alex would have done that way. I said, Ian, you just got to do it your way. Don't worry about it. I mean, Fergie's gone. So Steve Perryman used to call me and he said, the secretary used to keep saying to me, Graham wouldn't have done this, Graham Taylor wouldn't have done that. I thought, Steve, again, I just give the advice as a friend, just do it your way, mate.
Yeah, you got it. You got it, haven't you? Because if you, whatever you're doing as well, not just football, I think, but whatever you do, you know, even if I use my thing as an example, like with this, like if I did what other people think I should do and then it doesn't work, I'm always going to have in my mind, I should have done it what I thought. And it's the same with football. Like, if you do what you think, you know, if he had done what Fergie would have done and it doesn't work, you're always going to have that question at the back of your mind, because football's unforgiving. So you end up, you know, losing your job and whatever. And then you're always going to look back and think, I should have done.
The thing about football is, as a player, is one thing you got to do. It's just like any professional sport, or even if you're a film star, or you're an actor, or you're a singer, you got to perform to the best level, and you got to maintain that. And football's the same. You week in, week out. I mean, if you looked at every game I played in, I'm not just kind of saying about myself, there'll always be like, we should look on a Sunday morning at the papers, and I always would be a 7, 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
And I'll never be below that. I only ever got subbed twice. I played.
Wow. That's
so
incredible,
I mean,
that, isn't it?
so all the games I played in, I just got subbed twice, and one of them I think I was injured. The other time I had a complete nightmare. But other than that, I mean, I never got subbed.
You had that consistency throughout your career, then.
Yeah.
Obviously played for Wales 70 times. Let me take you way back to your Wales debut first of all. Were you nervous coming into that? Because obviously international honours, and I think, you know, representing your country is going to be as proud a moment as I would have thought you could get within a football scenario.
Again, when you like at Crystal Palace, I'll go back to Crystal Palace days again, because we had a player there who played for Wales, a lad called Ian Evans, centre half, that a few months later he had to finish playing because George Best went into attack with George Best, and George left his foot in, to be honest, and did, I wouldn't say he meant to do it, but he left his foot in, and he gave you this very serious injury, which really killed his career. But I used to, again, because I was like the Welsh boy, and Ian was a London boy, but his father was Welsh, so he ended up playing for Wales. And he played in the game where Joe Jordan made the dodgy handball header, which cost us the World Cup place, or a playoff game, which wasn't very good. So that was a year before I made my debut that year. So I used to speak to Ian, and I look up to him because obviously he played for Wales. And again, when you're going through the build-up of learning the game at a level, there's one thing you do want to do, and that's one thing I always want to do, is play for my country. And which I was lucky enough to do for 73, 74 times. So I kept on about him every time you go, wherever you go, and he could want to tell me about this happened, that happened, or whatever. And he took me to a Welsh game one day. Actually, his father took me. They were playing at Wrexham, they were playing Germany in the World Cup, first game of that year. And I was just breaking into the fringe of the Palace team at that stage. It was 17, going on, just coming up to 18. And I went up to the game, and Mike Smith was manager. I met Mike Smith. God, Christ, I was a bit frightened of that. Like, you know what I mean? You got bloody hell.
Intimidating.
He said to me, I know about you. He said, oh, do you? He said, yeah. He said, I know about you. He said, don't worry. He said, just buy your time and just see how things go, like, you know. So it did. And then 3 months later, I was picked in the Welsh squad.
Were you surprised when you got the call?
It was the end of the season of that year, and I went to his training, and I got a message from the assistant manager at the time. Then was Alan Harris, Ron Harris's brother, who was Terry Venables. He said, the boss wants to see you, Terry Venables. I thought, oh Christ, what's he want now? I thought I was in trouble. Something's happened, like, or something's got
to do something.
Some
sort of job to be done.
And then he came up and he said, I've had a phone call from Welsh FA and a letter. Congratulations, shook my hand. He said, I hope you play many times. And I was picked for the squad. And then I had a letter sent to me, which is the squad and where we had to be. And I was in the squad for the Army Nationals.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And played at Cardiff when Tosh scored his hat-trick, and I went on for about 3 or 4 minutes. And I took Terry Holland's place. And as I'm walking off, as I'm coming onto the pitch, Terry's limping off. He says, you won't be playing at Wembley on Wednesday, don't worry. Typical Yoreth.
To kind of finish off, mate, I'd like to fire a couple of quick questions at you, like quick fire ones, really. What is your best memory playing for Wales?
Good one. Best memory playing for Wales was when we started playing at the Cardiff Arms Park. And we playing against Germany. And Rushy scored a goal, which we won the game 1-0. And again, I think at that stage, if I'm right, I think they may be world champions then, Germany. They may not be, or they may got beaten in the final the year before. But anyway, we won 1-0. And the crowd and just, it was just
atmosphere
great.
Was incredible.
Germany. To beat a team like Germany at the Arms Park, where at that stage, you never thought you'd ever play there. And, you know, I watched many rugby games there, and my dad took me down to an international once, which was fantastic. So to play there and win that game, and we well deserved to win that game, to be fair. And when you're playing against players like Klinsmann and one or two other players, Rudy Vuller and all them, and to play them with like Rushy was only young, because Rushy's younger than me, so it was that was good. That was really good.
Obviously, you played football at a time where tackles were tackles, compared to today, at least. Like, who was the most, I don't want to say nasty opponent, but like, who was the hardest tackler you came up against? Someone who really got stuck.
If you say to me, people ask me this question quite a bit, because obviously I play the game in a way of, you play the game. I used to play the game where it's war.
Yeah.
Whoever you played against, it's war, because you want to win that battle, and the battle is to get win points. To get win points, you obviously had different things going on and whatever. But with the situation there of there's different ways of looking at it. I mean, they all go on to me about the tackle I had with Graham Souness. I don't know if you've seen it on WhatsApp or whatever on the phones these days. We can see it, and yeah, he hit me. He quite hard when we played up at Hampden Park, but we won the game 1-0, and I was battered and bruised. And I must tell you, I was saying the story the other night to somebody, and saying basically we played against Scotland, we won 1-0. He came into the foyer down at Hampden Park and apologised to me for he said, you did get me, I lost my head. And no, but Graham Souness was a good player, good footballer, but he could mix it, and it ended up really, some of the tackles he made it through his career was shocking.
Oh, they were
really bad.
Clips, they were awful.
They were awful. But the players, I'm a great believer in football. Is it the ones you got to watch are the slide footballers?
Yeah. I mean, he was open about it, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I was more of a slide footballer where you smash somebody or whatever with the ball or off the ball, and you get away with it, But the player who Jimmy Case was one, definitely who was a very hard player.
So obviously, like your Wales career, it was storied. You played, like the 70 games or so, which we mentioned. But you also played in, one of the most poignant games certainly in Ninian Park history, but probably in Welsh football history as well. In the night that Jock Stein passed away. Tell us about like that night and just the overall sort of impact it had as a player then.
Again, it was as we all know, it was a big game. We all know the circumstances of win or losing that game. Really was either in the playoffs for the World Cup or not. Again, which certain times of my Welsh career we just missed out, where maybe these days the way they do matters differently. We would have most probably qualified before the time which the boys have just done recently, in the last few years. No, it was a surreal evening, because kind of we played in Ninian Park, and I remember going down in the afternoon. We used to stay in Cardiff in one of the hotels. It was either here or somewhere else down at the on the lake or somewhere like that. We used to stay, and then we should go training in the morning or do some free kicks that. We used to take our cars down in Ninian Park that morning. So after the game, a lot of us would have to go back to our clubs next day for training. So our cars would be at Ninian. We used to park across the road in the car park there, opposite, the main entrance. Leave our cars there, and then the bus would come down and then take us back to the hotel. Then we'd have a bit of lunch. Then we'd go to sleep in the afternoon, and then clean your boots or whatever, sleep, and then get ready for the game for the evening. So as we were coming down that morning, you driving through Cardiff, and you see it was crazy. It was just like so many jocks there. You're like, Scottish supporters, if you can remember that.
It's just fun.
And it was just amazing. And anyhow, so as you know, we're going into the game, and it's a full house, Ninian Park's chock-a-block. But it just seemed to be, for that unknown reason, seemed to be a lot more Scottish supporters than Welsh supporters. I don't know why. It was just over the back of the old Grangetown there, and all beyond the back of the goal, there was all like Scottish supporters, And Anyway, so never mind. So we're playing the game and we're doing well, and we are playing really well, and we get a goal up. I think it was Mark Hughes who scored the goal. I'd gone to come across. I remember the goal. I'd gone actually through Nessel and tackle again, won the ball, crossed the ball over into Sparky on the edge of the box, and put it in the back of the net. So we're winning 1-0. Yeah, nervous times. Half time comes, and then we go in, we come back out again. Yeah, things are going okay. Odd nervous things, typical games, where Scotland are pressing, they need to score a goal. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, this kind of goal arrives again. This kind of a mysterious handball again, which poor old Dave Phillips, who was having a good game that day. All the lads were playing well, and we deserved to win that game. And we got this bloody goal again, this handball, which you would say in this day, with the VAR and all that, they mostly would give a penalty. But in that day, I think it was very harsh, very, very harsh. But, so they scored a goal, we draw the game. And as you know, in them days, when Ninian Park, like you had to run off the pitch, basically, because the fans were all run on the pitch.
Yeah, on the pitch.
Excited, it was 1-1, and we knew it was a disappointing result. Then all of a sudden, it was like, you basically didn't realise until you got into the dressing rooms that Jockstein had died. Or, he had a heart attack on the side of the pitch. And he's laying there, and there's people all around him, and there were doctors in there trying to sort it out. And there we are, we're all in the dressing rooms then, kind of really feeling sorry for ourselves. The result more than anything. And then the news comes through the dressing room that Jock had died, which was really, you don't wish that on anybody.
No. It must have been so shocking as well for the players who played the game.
Well, it was, as you say, again, it was a kind of surreal situation where, how do you feel? You just lost the biggest game of maybe our international careers, where we were winning 1-0 and very harsh goalkeeper. The referee trying to give the goal against us. And then all of a sudden Jock died, and it kind of, in a way, took the sting out of getting, drawing the result. Like
puts it in perspective, though, doesn't it? Like,
of course, yeah.
As much as football feels like life and death all the time, especially I would imagine when you're playing it, but to fans and stuff, when it comes down to it, it's football, isn't it?
And again, going back to this hotel, that evening I had family down from London. A couple of my kids were old enough then to come see me play, so they came down with one of my brothers, and they were staying at this hotel. So it's funny, and this hotel was chock-a-block with Scottish supporters as well. And it was a lovely evening that night. The weather was good, so it was a bit late, about 10:30. I came back to the hotel after we got showered and had a little quick chat and say bye to all the lads and whatever, and got in a car. I drove back here because I was going back to London straight away, so I'd take the kids back with me. And I came back here, and you could see the Scottish fans, they were not celebrating at all.
No.
They were all just gutted at Jockstein died. Everybody was, really.
Yeah.
And that was the Jockstein situation that evening.
Yeah, really, really shocking. Peter, I got to say, like, I could sit here for the next 3 hours and literally just chat away to you and just hear your stories and stuff. And I'd really like to, if you've got the time, when maybe we'll do a part 2 and get you in, because we've got so much more to still discuss.
No problem.
I'm sure you've got hundreds of stories still to go. But for today, I really appreciate your time. And,
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your candor and honesty.
Lovely.
Really enjoyed it.
No problem.
Thank you very much. And my lovely wife put down the camera now. But thank you very much. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you very soon.